one strong statement because we haven't said it before. Let law of attraction do all of the controlling. And you just adjust your vibration. So you have to stop looking at what you don't want and start looking at what you do want. But we've never known anybody who could just stop doing that. You have to start doing something else. And that's the whole point. You want to focus yourself into the vortex. And we know that the fast way in is to just care about how you feel. When you get in there, everything you want is in there. You're not ever going to look at the absence of something that you want and feel good. It's just that simple. You cannot look at lack and be in alignment with who you are. You cannot criticize and be in alignment with who you are. You cannot be mad at somebody and be in alignment with who you are. You cannot be afraid of anything and be in alignment with who you are. A battle against anything is a battle against you.
Yes.
That's the best way of saying it. A battle against anything is a battle against your alignment. That's it. That's it. That's the only thing you have to know. Oh, and think. While it's a little difficult to wrap your thoughts around this because it's not the way many of you have been thinking, we got to tell you, it's a whole lot easier than getting all those moving parts to line up. Most people have trained themselves. You have patterns of thought about money. You have patterns of thought about your body. You have patterns of thought about teachers. You have patterns of thought about government. You have patterns of thought about ecology. You have patterns of thought about medicine. You have patterns of thought about animals. You have patterns of thought about cats. You have patterns of thoughts about dogs. Some of you like dogs and don't like cats. Some of you like cats and don't like dogs. You have patterns of thoughts about all kinds of things. A pattern of thought just meaning a thought that you thought, maybe your mother thought it and she thought it and spoke it and then you thought it and listened, and then it doesn't matter where the thought got started, but you've got an active vibration about a lot of different subjects. So, let's say your active vibration about the subject of something that you want improvement in. Let's say your active thought is that we are in the middle of a financial crisis. And let's say that your active thought is that costs are going up and incomes are going down and the government is trying to fix it, but there are so many moving parts that even the best of them are in a state of confusion. And so that's your active thought, that you've talked about it, you've thought about it, you've listened, you've reasoned it out. That's your active thought. Well, it takes discipline to think a different thought. And many people would say, it's not just that it takes discipline to think an improved thought, Abraham. I don't want to think an improved thought because I've been trained to tell it like it is. I've been trained to face reality, to tell the truth. So now this vibration, this reason that it's harder to think a different thought has many layers of reasons. My mother told me to always tell her exactly the truth. And I don't always do it, but I feel guilty every time I don't. So I've trained myself into this thought, and now it's difficult to think a thought that's different. And we want to say, oh, hear this. The only reason that it's harder to think the optimistic thought about the subject that you've been pessimistic about is because the habit of thought has a vibration active within you, and law of attraction's holding you there. Law of attraction's holding you there. Law of attraction's giving you other thoughts that match it. Law of attraction's bringing you to people who think the same thing. Law of attraction's bringing evidence to you to support your belief. In other words, of course it's hard because reality has been formulating around it, and you believe your reality. And oh, did you just hear that? You believe that reality, and we want you to believe this reality. We want you to believe the vibrational reality. We want you to believe the reality of the whole of you, you see. And when these two realities merge, and the only way this is so good. The only way these two realities can merge is if you come this way into your vortex, because your vortex is never going to merge with this reality. If the source within you would merge with sickness, your planet would be sick and dead soon. If the source within you would merge with economic decline, it would be over for you. In other words, there would be endedness, but that's not ever going to happen because the whole system is such that the source within you holds the leading edge position that is achieved by your asking from the contrast that you live. Are you getting that? When you know what you don't want, you ask for improvement, and improvement becomes the new order of the day. And the new ones being born and all the new energy coming in all come from that vantage point. We've all got a perpetual well-being thing going on here that no matter how negative any one of you get, you cannot disrupt the system. All you can do is pinch yourself off and have an unpleasant time for a while until you croak, and then you're right back in the game again. But you see, it always takes effort. And let's talk about why it takes effort. And let's just tell it like it is. Focus is effort because law of attraction will hold you to your dominant vibration. So if I've been beating the drum of I don't have enough money, and I've been noticing evidence of not having enough money, and in my noticing that I don't have enough money, I activate a vibration so it keeps me in that position of not having enough money, then to think about having more money is not as easy as noticing that I don't have enough money. It takes effort to imagine beyond what is. That's really what we're talking about. It's easy. It's like it's easy to turn on the television and watch what they're offering. It's more difficult to think your own thought. It's easy to just hear what someone's saying to you. It's more difficult to guide the conversation in a more positive direction. It's easy to observe. It's more difficult to focus. And yet, there is so much more reward in focusing than there is in just observing. So, you have the ability to focus in ways that you have not exercised. Too many people are dependent on the behavior of too many others, which you can't control. And then it puts you in this uncomfortable position of needing to be true control freaks in order to feel good. And then as your world gets bigger, you find that there are too many moving parts, and you find less ability to control, and so then it all begins to break down as the moving parts become more numerous. Where when you get it, when you decide early on or as soon as you can that you're going to stop trying to control the uncontrollable, which is everything that everybody else is doing, even doing with you. Stop trying to control the uncontrollable and control the only thing you can control, which is your relationship with your vortex. You'll be joyful, and then the cooperative components will come and match you, and you'll find all kinds of people in your life. Lovely to be with and play with, you see. When you recognize how you feel, then you are taking responsibility for what's happening. In other words, when we first began expressing in this way, it was delightful to watch Esther, because when something really wonderful would happen, she would say, I did that. Mm-hmm. And when something not wonderful would happen, she would say, I did that. And there was something empowering about knowing that since she did it, she could do it a different way if she chooses to. But it's easy to forget, because there are so many moving parts. It's so easy to give other people credit for the way they behave. That's sort of what feels logical to you, but it isn't logical, because the way they're behaving to you always matches your expectation. People will raise or lower to the level of your expectation. And that's why sometimes it's hard to focus yourself into a new place, as we say. You've been thinking that way, you've been getting feedback, which is why you think that way, so you get feedback, which is why you think that way, which is so you get feedback. It's just a spiral of attraction, you see. But only when you care about how you feel, so you start directing your thoughts based upon how they feel rather than upon the reality. Esther will say, Abraham, but it's true. Not so much anymore, but she tried it for a while. But Abraham, but it's true. You got to give me that. And we say, don't use the truth of something as your criteria for your focus, because there are all kinds of things that are true that you don't want to keep active in your vibration. There is a rampant active vibration around the world, and especially in your planet, that said times are financially hard. And as long as you keep beating that drum, the stuff that's queued up for you in your escrow, in your vibrational reality, will be slowed down, because your thinking that times are hard puts you in a place of disallowing them. Meanwhile, there are people who are accustomed to thriving in all times that are making out like bandits. And then you say, that's wrong. You're not supposed to thrive in this hard economy. We're all supposed to suffer in this suffering economy. We say, hear what you're saying. You want to praise success everywhere you see it. You want to praise thriving everywhere you see it. You want to tune yourself to thriving, not to failing, you see. You can tell by the way you feel how the source within you is looking at it. Source within you is not worried about this economy. And when you do, you feel bad. But you don't feel bad because you're worrying about the economy. You feel bad because you're separating yourself from source, who does not worry about the economy, and using worrying about the economy as your excuse to separate yourself from source. Starting to get this, aren't you? Once you find this wavelength, whether you find it on your own, whether you find it through meditation, whether you find it by reading one of the books that is full of the energy of Abraham, whether you listen to a recording that is the vibration of Abraham, you, just through listening, can train yourself right into the vibrational frequency of that which we are. Which means anytime you are asking and in a place of non-resistance, you can receive the vibration of that which is us. The earlier clarification, right, both yesterday and today, and as often as it comes up, is that this relationship that you are having here is Abraham as being translated by Esther. And there is a difference of Abraham being translated by Esther as Abraham being translated by anyone else. And in fact, the name Abraham implies the combining of that which is Esther and this energy that she has named Abraham. In other words, she found that label. Right. As we visit with you, we don't whisper words in her ear that she repeats. We offer blocks of thought that she translates. And so there is a projection of energy, and there's a receiving and translating of the energy, and that's what equals Abraham. So we're really splitting hairs here in the sense that we're not in any way trying to hold Esther apart as the only translator of non-physical energy. In fact, the opposite is true. Every one of you are an extension of source, and every one of you has your own inner being, and every one of you, when you get into your vortex, have full access to what your inner being knows. That's what you call channeling is. Esther has not ever enjoyed the word because it means so many things that she is not doing, and people are not sure what it means, and in some circles it has a sort of negative connotation. But what this alignment or connection or experience really is Esther having trained herself even before she was receiving us into the vortex and into the frequency that is us, so that as we began projecting through her inner being, since she was in concert with her inner being, she received the full understanding of all of that and is very good at articulating it, and was particularly good at it because she was not steeped in a lot of attitudes and opinions and rituals that she would then have to try to interpret this new knowledge through. The knowledge could come purely. So she actually found new combinations of words that actually put you in new places of understanding new meanings, you see. So, having said that, all of you, when you're in the vortex, have access to all of that. The greatest advantage that Esther, Abraham, the combination of Esther and Abraham offer to any of you is that she has put herself in the receiving mode. So, you're doing the asking and we're doing the answering, and Esther is doing the receiving, and here it is all working out very nicely together. Where when you are on your own having the experience, you might discover that the vibration of your question and the vibration of our answer are not the same vibration, because in the question or in the problem is always a different vibration than in the answer or in the solution. Everyone has access to infinite intelligence. Everyone is an extension of this source energy. Esther, as she expresses for Abraham, is an example of that connection, but she is not the example of the precise stream that you will connect with. Everyone's stream is uniquely theirs. In other words, you have literally created before your birth and since being in this physical body, this vortex of creation. In other words, the assembling of all cooperative components. The cooperative components for Esther is different than the cooperative components for you or anyone else, you see. Jerry was talking about this at dinner last night with friends, is that when you are inside the vortex, and you are full of desire to know something, And inside the vortex, meaning no resistance, that's when that passageway opens and the clarity comes forth. But when you are outside the vortex, wanting those answers, a whole